Begin this hour with ceasefire negotiations underway in Islamabad, Pakistan, where U.S. and Iran delegations have gathered for what was supposed to be ceasefire negotiations to try to hammer out a deal to end the war that has brought chaos to the region and upended the world's energy markets. So far today, each delegation has met with Pakistani officials, but it appears direct negotiations between the United States and Iran have not even started. Two members of the Iranian delegation tell MS Now contributor Inzamam Rashid that, quote, talks will not start until a ceasefire is agreed in Lebanon. As of now, we haven't met with U.S. officials in Islamabad, but we have had extensive conversations with our Pakistani brothers and hosts and have relayed our position. As a backdrop to all of this, President Trump claimed this week that the U.S. had won a, quote, total and complete victory after agreeing to the 2-week ceasefire deal with Iran. But that supposed ceasefire remains on shaky ground, and it's hard to square Trump's assessment with the reality of the situation. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois. He is a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Quigley, welcome to the weekend. Let me read to you a social media post from the president yesterday about Iran negotiations, and I'm quoting here. The Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards other than a short-term extortion of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. President Donald J. Trump. I don't know, Congressman Quigley. From where I sit, it would appear that the Iranians have a whole lot more cards than the president is willing to publicly admit.
Yeah, if this is victory, we're in really big trouble. When this conflict started, the strait was open. We hadn't lost service members. We hadn't spent $1 billion a day. We hadn't risked the extraordinary threat of escalation that's taking place. And oh, by the way, the regime is still in place. In fact, the harder liners have taken hold than were in place at the beginning of this. And the nuclear weapon, the uranium they need for nuclear weapons, they still have that stockpile. So how this is a victory is just beyond comprehension. It's a president who wants to claim victory no matter what happens.
Congressman, Lebanon is said over and over again, before they got to, anyone went to Pakistan, that they didn't want to negotiate until there was a ceasefire of Israel bombing Lebanon. The United States delegation went, the Iranian delegation went. We are now at 9 o'clock a.m. our time, which is, I think, 6 o'clock there. The sides have not met. Each side has met with the Pakistanis, the brokers of this, of whatever comes next. I'm a little bit confused why the administration would send anyone when the basis of the negotiation is that Lebanon is no longer being bombed by Israel. It seemed. Do you think we're getting played here? What is this is continuing to extend out quite a period.
Obviously, it depends on the good faith of Israel deciding not to continue the conflict in Lebanon.
Do you think they're going to stop bombing Lebanon?
You would have thought that we would have figured that out, that we would have had an understanding and agreement with Israel, our ally here, before we sent people out to try to negotiate. And obviously, I think you look at what Iran is putting on the table so far and before the negotiations formally begin, and they are maximalist demands. I mean, if anyone thinks that these two sides are going to come together, they haven't been watching. This is a regime that has taken a massive pounding, and they're still fighting an asymmetric war. They still have the strait closed. And they still have a 1.5 million man army. So those threats are still there. If we thought we had victory, we weren't paying attention. If they think they're going to come to some long-term agreement here, what is our demands here? What do we really want? You know, the fact is we had Iran in compliance with the JCPOA, a treaty I supported, in which they were not moving forward to build nuclear weapons. Trump pulled out of that unilaterally. So he has created this. Obviously, this is a horrific regime, but the president has only made the situation far worse.
Congressman, the assessment that you just made, that this, if you're paying attention, is not a victory by any means, if you're looking at objectives Trump has demanded and whether or not they've been met, that is now being echoed by Fox News anchors even. Let's listen to Lawrence Jones, who this week called out Trump's failure to achieve any of the objectives he's laid out so far.
But I will say that the president's demands, we have not reached any of those objectives. I have full confidence that the president is going to find some way to make this happen. But he said that we want to dismantle all major nuclear facilities. That has not happened. The end of uranium enrichment on the soil, they're still enriching. The transfer of the enriched uranium stockpiles out of Iran, that hasn't happened. The acceptance of intrusive international inspections, they're still not willing to do that. And they have not suspended their ballistic missiles program. They're still firing them off to stop the production of the long-range missiles. That's just a few of them on the president's proposal.
Dumb.
Two questions for you. As a member of the House Intelligence Committee, have you been briefed recently? When was the last time you were briefed on what the objectives of this administration are? And when it's laid out like that, I mean, it's hard not to deduce that the potential endgame long-term deal that is going to be negotiated here is going to look something strikingly similar to what the JCPOA looked like and what the Trump administration was critical of, which is tens of billions of dollars of incentives to the Iranians and ease sanctions.
Yeah, let me clarify a few things. I get briefed about what's taking place in Iran on an ongoing basis, but the fact of the matter is the president changes his mind every 12 hours as to what the objectives are. So there's a lack of meaning in what can come from that. But I also think you have to go back to why we see the Fox commentators speaking the way they are. The president's campaign promise was they were going to get a handle on inflation and there were going to be no new wars. In one fell swoop, he blew all those away. If anyone thought we were going to meet these objectives without full-scale war, not just some troops on the ground, this is going to take a full-scale war with every bit of our armies and military's capabilities going to Iran and engaging there. And I'm not even sure we can win the war and fulfill those objectives. So to think that we're going to do that with strikes and the method that we're going now, it's just foolhardy. It's extremely dangerous, and it does risk a full-scale war.
Congressman, before we have to let you go, I want to bring the conversation stateside and to the stunning allegations made against Democratic Congressman from California, Eric Swalwell. One, just your reaction to the allegations. As you see there on the screen, former staffer accuses Congressman Swalwell of sexual assault. Reports say our own MS Now colleague Michael Schnell interviewed one of the people making allegations against the congressman. As Michael Schnell also reported, there have been calls on the congressman to give up, to get out of the race for California governor. But when you guys come back to Washington on Tuesday, there will be calls for him to not only be censured. I think Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is going to do that, but then Congresswoman Anna Paulina of Florida, I believe, is going to call for him to be expelled. Do you think the congressman should not only get out of the race, should he get out of the race for California governor, and should he resign from Congress?
Look, I've always said that no one's above the law and no one should be treated any differently. And we should treat people as Democrats and Republicans the same way. Obviously, there should be a full-scale investigation. I simply don't know if the Ethics Committee or if anyone has done any work on this. But Mr. Swalwell shouldn't be treated any better or any worse than anyone else. And the chips should fall where they may. If there's any sort of wrongdoing along these horrible allegations, he should not continue his campaign and he should resign. So Mr. Swalwell is someone I've known for some time. These are shocking, extraordinarily disturbing allegations, and the investigation should go forward regardless of his party affiliation.
Representative Mike Quigley, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.